All right, everyone, this is part 2 of our comparison of the new GoalZero Atla 80. And I know I was calling it Atlas 80 in the last video, but it's the Atla 80. We're comparing it to the proven Dometic CFX375 liter and the ARB Zero 69 liter. So in our first test, what we did was we loaded all of these fridges up with room temperature water and soda, and we loaded them all up with the exact same amount of water and soda, and we ran these fridges off of these GoalZero 1500X to see how long they would run for in comparison of each other. In that first test, I think the GoalZero and the ARB came up on top, very similar in performance, with the Dometic trailing pretty far behind. So if you want more details on that, you can watch that video. But in this test, what we're doing is we're loading up these fridges with water and soda that has already been chilled to its desired temperature. So we have the freezer filled with water bottles that are already frozen, and water and soda in the fridge side that's already chilled to its desired temperature as well. So we have the freezer set at 0 and the fridge set at 35, and we did that for all three. Also different from the first test is in this test we're also loading up the larger fridges with appropriately more water, so that there's roughly the same amount of empty airspace between the three fridge. So the ARB is about 13% larger than the GoalZero. So we loaded the GoalZero up with about 10% more water so that it kind of evens that ratio out a little bit more. If you're not aware, these fridges are most efficient when you fully load them with food and drinks that are already cold. So it doesn't have to work so hard to keep the fridges at the right temperature. But when you have a lot of dead airspace, it actually works harder to keep the temperature. So keep that in mind, and that's the reason why we loaded on this test. We decided to load up these fridges up a little bit more. What we're also going to be doing is, in this test, I'm not going to open up these fridges. So we're going to see what the maximum number of days we're going to get. In the last test, we did open the fridge fairly often to check on the fridge and make sure everything inside was at the right temperature. In this test, we're going to go ahead and just leave the fridges closed for the entire duration of the test. I started these fridges up about 45 minutes ago. It is now 8:41 on day 1. So we'll be checking on the percentage primarily throughout the days to see where we're at, and then we'll see how long each of these fridges will last. My guess is the GoalZero is going to last 3.5 days. The Dometic, I'm also going to guess that it will last roughly about the same amount of time. And I'm going to say the ARB is actually going to get 4 days, it being a much smaller fridge with the same amount of power as the other two. So that's my prediction on the results. We'll see if I'm right at the end of the test. Okay, so we'll check back on these fridges in about half a day or so. Oh, and I also want to point out that we are running these tests in a controlled environment. The house doesn't run AC very often. I think we only run it about 2 or 3 hours a day. Being in Southern California, it doesn't get very warm. But this is not on the field. This is not in the desert. This is not wild camping, so keep that in mind. The main purpose or the main focus of these tests is to see how the newcomer, the GoalZero, compares to the more proven brands that have been around for probably a couple of decades. So we'll see how the GoalZero fare in terms of how energy efficient it is. We're also not really testing if there's longevity or how it handles rough terrains or anything like that. I'll be doing that when I start camping with this fridge, but for now we're primarily focused on seeing how energy efficient the GoalZero is, because they do advertise it as being very energy efficient compared to the others. I believe someone told me that they advertise it as the most energy efficient on the market. That'll be a little tough to determine on this test because the ARB is much smaller, but when comparing it to an equivalent size fridge like the Dometic, we should get a really good idea of how efficient the GoalZero is. Okay. All right, here's the quick 12-hour update. It is almost 8:30 a.m. and crazy enough, the Dometic is down to 60%. Wow, it's drawing a lot. Okay, the GoalZero at 84 and the ARB is at 78. So very interesting. I would have thought the ARB would be beating out the GoalZero, but it looks like the GoalZero is doing the best right now. So we'll check back again in about another 12 hours. All right, we're at 24 hours. It is 8:30 on day 2. And the Dometic is currently sitting at 25%. This is much lower than I expected. My initial thought was at this point, we would have about 60% left, but we only have 25. So that's very surprising. I thought it would have performed much better. I did mention earlier that I wasn't going to open these fridges, but I lied. The Amazon guy showed up and I offered him a cold drink, so I grabbed a water bottle from each of their fridges. And earlier during the day, I also grabbed 1 soda bottle from each because I was thirsty. Anyway, so here's the GoalZero. We're at 66%. So it has burned nearly half of what the Dometic has burned so far. And these two fridges are very similar in size. So I'm very surprised at how much power that Dometic has gone through. Here's the ARB. And the ARB is at 53%. So again, I'm very surprised. I would have thought that the ARB would be more efficient simply due to its physical size to the GoalZero. But as you can see here, it's sitting at 53%. So what's that, about 13%? It's gone through 13% more power than the GoalZero in the first 24 hours. So that's the 24-hour update. I'm guessing that this won't last another 12 hours, maybe another 12 hours. So we'll see. I'll be at work tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll be home. So I'll have to get someone to check on this for me tomorrow and capture the time when this thing hits 5%. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's the update. We'll check back on it again tomorrow. All right, everyone. It is 11:15 p.m. day 2, and the Dometic here is at 18%. It's been about 2 hours and 45 minutes since we checked on it last, and it's burned through about 7 or 8%. So it doesn't look like this is going to be able to run through to tomorrow morning. It's probably going to hit the 5%, at about 4 a.m. in the morning. So I won't be up then. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it for the Dometic. We're gonna go ahead and charge this back up and reset it for the next test. Now, if we did let it run to 5%, it looks like it should get about 31.5 hours, which is about 8 hours more than test 1. So during the first test, it ran for just under 24 hours. So that's it for the Dometic for this test. The GoalZero Atla 80 is doing really well. It's sitting at 62%. It's only lost 4% in the last 2 hours and 45 minutes. So this is going to be able to run for at least another day, possibly day and a half at the. So we'll continue to let that run to see where we get or where it goes. And the ARB is also doing pretty well. It is sitting at 47%. So we should be able to get nearly at least another day out of this at the current rate. Okay, so that's a quick update. We'll check up on these fridges in the morning. All right, everyone, we are 35 hours in. It is 7:23 a.m. on day 2, so about 35 and a half hours. The Dometic is currently plugged into AC power, waiting for the power station to charge up. It's also waiting for these guys to finish up so we can all start at the same time. The GoalZero Atla is at 51%. So right at about a day and a half, we're at 51%. So it's trending at 3 full days. Okay, still looking good. The ARB is at 31%. So it looks like we'll probably get 12 more hours out of the ARB roughly. So that's the roughly the 36-hour update. Heading into work, so I'll check on these when I get back. Okay, it is 6:40 on day 2, 6:40 p.m. and the ARB is at 5%. So that puts it at 46 hours and 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and charge up the power bank, reset everything for the next test. The GoalZero is performing like a superstar compared to the other two. Has 32% left. So at the very minimum, we're going to see probably 18 more hours on this. So we'll see, we'll continue to check back. And that's the day 2 update. Okay, we are at the 2.5 day mark. It is 8:33 a.m. on day 3. And the GoalZero here still has 13%. So based on what I'm seeing here, we're probably going to get another 6 hours or so on this station. So looks like we'll be approaching nearly 3 full days or 2 3/4. So we'll keep an eye on it. Once this hit 5% later today, I will report back. Everybody, we are at 12:33 and it has been 64 hours on this GoalZero Atla 80. Very impressive. It has more than lapped the Dometic CFX375 and it's outperformed the, I forgot what the exact numbers is, but I'll do a recap in a bit. But it outperformed the ARB by more than half a day. So that's it for the test 2. I'm going to go ahead and reset all these fridges. So for test 3, what we're doing is we're doing the same exact test as test 2. The difference being both sides will be set to refrigerator temperature. So 65 on all chambers. So that'll be test 3. So stand by for that. That'll be in a different video. But in a moment, I'll do a recap on all the numbers for test 2. Hi everyone, so here are the results for test 2. But before we get into that, I added some data point for test 1. Primarily this watt per hour. So this is how many watt on the average each refrigerator was burning per hour. The Dometic was burning 60.19 watt an hour on the average. The GoalZero was burning 50.03 and the ARB was burning 47 watt. I figured this data point is useful because you can apply these number toward whatever power station you're using. The power station we're using has 1516 watt hour, but if you had more or less, you can do some simple calculation and figure out roughly how many hours you might get if you ran the same test. And here's the result for test 2. As you can see, the Dometic ran for 31.08 hours. The GoalZero ran for 64 hours and the ARB ran for 46.1 hours. Something to keep in mind, the Dometic was stopped at 18% remaining on the power station. The primary reason for that was if I waited for the 5%, it would have been about 3 a.m. in the morning, and I didn't want to stay up for that. So I went ahead and stopped it at 18, and we calculated the remaining runtime based on what it was drawing during the first 82%. So during the first 82% of the battery, it was burning roughly 3.06% an hour, which calculates down to 46.39 watt an hour. And based on this information, the unit would have ran for a little bit over 4 additional hours, and it would have brought it to roughly 31.08 hours. So keep that in mind. We did partially calculate it, this number here. The GoalZero was burning at about 1.48%, which calculates down to 22.44 watt. And the ARB was burning 2.06% an hour, which calculates down to 31.22. This information here is based on the 1516 watt hour that the GoalZero 1500X was advertised for, so keep that in mind as well. You can take these numbers here and apply that toward your power station. Whatever amount of watt hour it has divided by this will give you roughly the amount of hours you would get out of each of these fridges. So based on all these numbers here, you can clearly see the GoalZero Atla 80 blew the Dometic out of the water, more than doubling the runtime and way outperforming the ARB as well. The ARB, or the GoalZero ran for nearly 40% longer than the ARB in this test. So the clear winner is definitely the GoalZero here. We're at about the last few hours of test 3, so I should have that information and that video up in a few days. So keep an eye open for that. But if you have any questions on test 2, feel free to drop that in the comment section, and I'll try to answer them.